Today, our source is something quite personal. It's a PDF called Tony's Report on First Japan Homestay 1987.
Exactly. So this is a student's firsthand account. He was part of a homestay program in Japan back in '87. It was run by Miami University and an organization called the Kihara Igo Gakuen.
1987. It gives us a real window into that specific time, doesn't it?
It really does. So our mission really is to understand what it was like for a first-time visitor to Japan then,
Yeah.
that initial cultural immersion.
What were the challenges? Language, culture?
Yeah.
How did he cope?
Right. And what did he learn? We're looking for those maybe surprising cultural differences, but also the experiences you can relate to, the human side of learning and adapting.
Okay, so where do we start? His arrival, I guess. First impressions.
Yeah, he lands in Japan, and the first thing that hits him is the writing. He talks about seeing kanji and katakana everywhere.
Uh-huh. Those are the Japanese scripts. And he notes there wasn't much romaji, which is, the alphabet we use.
Which must have been quite disorienting. He mentions he hadn't really studied the Japanese writing systems much beforehand.
So suddenly he's surrounded by symbols he can't easily read. It really makes you appreciate how much we rely on familiar text.
Definitely. It's a reminder that learning isn't just facts, it's about how your brain even processes information, like visual script versus phonetic.
And he seems to have, well, he had to figure it out quickly. He mentions using his Japanese textbook, trying to learn the scripts, pick up some basic phrases right away.
He did say distinguishing between kanji, the complex characters, and kana, the simpler phonetic ones, was tough at first.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Especially kanji.
Okay, so let's shift to the people, the host families. He describes them in, well, glowing terms.
What did he say?
The most considerate and polite people ever met. He even said he felt like he was living almost like a king.
Wow, that's strong praise. It points to that Japanese concept of omotenashi, doesn't it? That deep sense of hospitality.
Absolutely. He mentioned they'd immediately try to fix any problem, however small.
Anticipating needs, trying to make the guests comfortable.
Yeah, almost too much sometimes, from his perspective. He gives an example. If he just mentioned something was different from America, they might try to change it for him.
Ah, the politeness paradox.
Right. Because he appreciated the kindness, of course, but he actually wanted to experience authentic Japanese life, not some modified version.
That's a really interesting dynamic. You want to be a good guest, they want to be good hosts, but you also want the genuine cultural immersion. Bit of a conflict there.
The slight internal one for him, it seems. But he does stress that generally they were happy to accommodate his requests if he asked. So overall, very supportive.
And that kind of support from a host family is huge, isn't it? For helping someone adjust.
Oh, definitely. It's like having a safety net while you're figuring things out. Lowers the stress.
Makes the whole thing less intimidating, allows you to ease into it.
Okay, let's talk food. Another big part of the experience.
Always is. How did that go?
The families were really helpful here, too. He actually used an information sheet to list foods he didn't like.
It's quite organized.
Yeah, he said it was useful for explaining other habits, too, not just food. A good communication tool, really.
Smart. Avoids awkward moments at the dinner table.
They cooked a variety of things, including some American food sometimes, and even took him to American restaurants.
Trying to give him a taste of home, maybe.
But here's the cool part. He ended up trying things he thought he wouldn't like and actually enjoyed them. He specifically mentions squid and eel.
Yeah. See, it pays to be adventurous. That's often how it goes, isn't it? You surprise yourself.
Totally. So moving from food to sightseeing, it sounded like he was kept pretty busy. Lots of exploring around Chiba Prefecture.
Which is near Tokyo.
Right, and he mentioned specific big trips, too. Tokyo itself, Mount Fuji, Kamakura, those are major highlights.
Definitely iconic spots. Great introduction to different facets of Japan, the city, nature, history. Generous of the host families to take him.
He does note that sometimes explaining the sites was a bit tricky, language-wise, but overall, he found it really enjoyable and interesting.
And then there were planned activities, too, weren't there? From the Ego Gakuen, the language school.
Yes, three main ones. A traditional tea ceremony, a meeting with the mayor of Kihara, and a summer camp.
That's a nice mix. The tea ceremony, that must have been fascinating.
He says it was, especially because they explained the customs and meanings behind it all, really brought it to life.
And meeting the mayor adds a local government community angle.
Yeah, and he found out the mayor used to work in a drugstore. A nice humanizing detail.
Ah, that's great. And the summer camp.
He said it was fun, mostly because of interacting with the Japanese kids. Good for informal language practice, too, I bet.
Sounds like it. So you've got the family-led stuff and the more structured activities, a good balance.
Yeah, it seems like a well-rounded way to experience things. The intimate daily life and the broader cultural events.
It probably gave him a richer understanding than just doing one or the other.
Now, cultural differences. Even though he'd taken a prep class at Miami University Japanese for Travelers, he admits adjusting took time.
That's surprising. You can read about things, but living them is different.
And he singles one thing out as the most difficult adjustment. Any guesses?
Huh? Bowing? Taking shoes off?
Nope. The toilet. The traditional Japanese squat toilet.
Ah, yes. A classic challenge for Western visitors back then, especially.
He jokes it required skill and strong leg muscles. It's funny, but also highlights those really fundamental, everyday differences.
Very relatable point, even if things have changed a bit now with more Western-style toilets available.
But he says most other cultural things got easier over time. By the end, he felt he'd pretty much mastered the main difficulties.
Which shows good adaptation. It's a process, right? Observe, learn, adjust. Takes time.
Makes you think about your own experiences adapting to new places or customs.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Okay, what about language exchange? Communication.
Right. He said most of the students at the Eigo Gakuen knew more English than he knew Japanese. Their fluency varied, though.
So conversations could be tricky.
With the teenagers, yes. He found it hard to have, deep chats, but they could get general ideas across. But then there was one host family where the mother was actually an English teacher at the school.
Oh, that must have made things easier.
Yeah, he could have more normal conversations with her, though still maybe not super in-depth. But her brother, now that was different.
How so?
He had spent 10 months studying at Ohio University, so his English was really fluent.
Significant immersion experience.
Totally. And Tony mentions having actual in-depth discussions with him about things like labor unions and the U.S.-Japan trade deficit.
Wow, that's a big jump in conversational complexity. From basic ideas to economics.
It really shows what that kind of language immersion can do. It opened up a whole different level of understanding.
And what about his own Japanese learning during the trip?
He's realistic about it. Didn't become fluent, obviously, but he definitely picked things up.
Like what?
Common phrases, definitely, but also just the way people communicate, the sounds, the rhythm of the language, and gestures. He mentions learning that in Japan you point to your nose to mean me.
Good point. And what about souvenirs he brought for them?
Very modest gifts. A mug, a plastic license plate, a button, some stickers, all with the Miami University logo.
Okay, university swag, basically.
Pretty much. And the reactions varied. Some families just said a polite thank you. Others seemed like they'd really treasure these simple items.
Interesting. Cultural differences in receiving gifts, maybe?
Yeah.
Or just individual personalities?
Could be both. Let's touch quickly on the practical side.
Yeah.
Money.
Always important.
He brought $500 spending money, plus another $300 specifically for the summer camp. And he says this was enough for the trip back in 1987.
Good to know. And exchanging it?
No problem, he says. Easy to change dollars into yen, and the host families would help him go to the bank if needed.
Again, that host family support cropping up in practical ways.
Yeah, consistently helpful. Okay, so finally, let's look at the impact and his feedback on the program.
Did he feel it was worthwhile?
Oh, absolutely. He says it really benefited his education and personal life. He got more serious about his Japanese classes back at university afterward.
It sparked a deeper interest then.
Definitely. And it gave him future goals. He started thinking about maybe going back to Japan to teach English, study Japanese more, even potentially work for a Japanese company someday.
Wow. So a relatively short trip had a potentially life-altering impact on his plans.
It really seems like it. Shows the power of that kind of immersive experience.
It really does.
Yeah.
Did he have suggestions for how the program could be better?
Yes, some really concrete feedback. He felt the time spent with each host family was sometimes too short.
How short?
Sometimes only one full day. He felt that wasn't enough to really get a feel for family life or do significant things together.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It takes time to settle in.
His suggestion was a minimum of 3 full days per family, maybe up to 7.
So, wrapping it all up, his overall impression.
Sounds overwhelmingly positive, despite the minor critiques. It was. He called it a wonderful experience, a great way for American students to get a taste of Japan and see if it was something they wanted to pursue further.
A good litmus test, almost.
Exactly. And he ends by saying the people he met, the host families, the students, everyone would always hold a special place in his heart.
Which brings it back to the human connection, doesn't it? That's often the most lasting part.
It really is. Beyond the sites or even the language skills, it's those relationships. It makes you reflect on your own travels, the people who made them meaningful.
So there we have it, a deep dive into Tony's 1987 Japan homestay, all thanks to this personal report.